Remembering those who made the ultimate sacrifice. The city held its annual Remembrance Day ceremony this morning. Good afternoon. Hundreds gathered outside Old City Hall to honor those who gave their lives to defend Canada.
The annual ceremony was held at the Cenotaph downtown, remembering the soldiers who fought and died for our freedom, as well as veterans and active armed forces members. CTV's Beth McDonnell attended today's ceremony and joins us now live with more. Beth.
Andrea, Nathan, hundreds gathered. They filled the intersection of Queen and Bay outside Old City Hall in front of the cenotaph behind me. It was unveiled 100 years ago. During the ceremony, soldiers stood in front of the cenotaph in uniforms dating back to the First and Second World War, as well as the present day. Today's ceremony comes as the Second World War ended 80 years ago and the First World War ended more than 100 years ago. The ceremony, we saw a choir singing a version of the poem in Flanders Field. A solo trumpeter played The Last Post, and there was a moment of silence. Toronto's mayor and Ontario's lieutenant governor spoke to everyone in attendance.
For over a century, the people of Toronto have gathered here at Old City Hall to honor the brave men and women who served and gave their lives for Canada. This sacred ground holds the echoes of generations who answered the call of duty. Young Canadians who left their homes, their families, and their futures behind to defend the peace and freedoms we too often take for granted.
100 years ago, the names of the battles in the Great War were engraved on the sides of this monument. Ypres, Somme, Mount Sorel, Vimy, Zeebrugge, Passchendaele, Amiens, Arras, Cambrai. For 100 years, they have served as stark reminders of the sacrifices made by Canadian soldiers and as testaments of their valor.
This ceremony, of course, to honor all of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, but not just in world wars, also in other conflicts and peacekeeping efforts. Many in the crowd are veterans, or they simply just wanted to come and pay their respects.
I was in when we used to call it the dark days, where there wasn't as much public support, and so I think it's really refreshing to see and a lot more public support now. And I think people are, especially with sort of younger veterans, it's more in the public eye. I think for a while it was really being forgotten, and I think that really helps get the messages across. And I think we also come out just to support each other. We try to keep up with each other, and this is a time during the year where we can all get together, tell those old stories and just visit with friends that you haven't seen for a while.
It's incredibly important to remember, particularly in these troubled times, I think, when there's just so much going on in the world, to remember these sacrifices and what they were sacrificed for, the values they died for, never more important than today.
It's a day for remembrance of the deepest thing, isn't it? It really is. It's just something, never get over it. And I was never in it. We're all here because of what these guys and gals did. It's that simple.
And this ceremony had a very special moment near the end. There was a 101-year-old veteran here who laid a wreath, and everyone clapped for him. And so that was a very beautiful and poignant way to end this ceremony. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Andrea, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. Premier Doug Ford met with residents of the Sunnybrook Veterans Center this morning.
My grandfather fought for our freedom, and I think everyone knows someone that their grandparents were involved in World War II, and just how much we appreciate them. And some of the stories that you hear are absolutely incredible, and how they serve their country overseas in different ways. So I just want to show our appreciation and tell them the people of Ontario and Canada thank them.
The Premier shook hands and thanked the residents for their service. He later planted a Canadian flag on the front lawn outside the Veterans Centre as part of Operation Raise a Flag. The annual initiative raises money to support those who live at the facility. The 97th annual Remembrance Day sunrise service was held at Prospect Cemetery this morning.
Members of the Royal Canadian Legion, along with officials from all three levels of government, were part of the ceremony. CTV's Raheem Ladani was there and joins us live with more. Raheem.
Hi, Nathan and Andrea. You know, sunrise ceremonies, they're always quite beautiful and peaceful, and this morning's was no different. Everyone here having an opportunity to reflect and honor the sacrifices for those who came before us. Standing shoulder to shoulder at sunrise, hundreds of people from all walks of life gathered to pay their respects and honor those who served and sacrificed for Canada.
Today, we remember the thousands of soldiers of diverse backgrounds who fought together, and we honor their legacy with deep gratitude.
This is the 97th annual Remembrance Day sunrise ceremony at Prospect Cemetery. Steeped in heritage, this is the final resting place of more than 5,300 Canadian and Allied Forces veterans, making it the largest First World War veteran section in Canada.
Without that act of remembrance, you can't carry that legacy onto the future. So it is important that we do take that time to reflect and to acknowledge their sacrifices.
As members of the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 26646 and dignitaries paid tribute to the men and women who selflessly served and continue to do so, their hope is to never lose sight of the immeasurable cost to protect our freedom.
Comfort those brutalized by war, that even small glimmers of hope may bring optimism for better times.
On this snowy day, we gather to honor those brave Canadians who fought for freedom, justice, and peace.
A timeless tradition of gratitude, carrying their legacy forward forever. Prospect Cemetery, where we are right now, was built in 1890, and while the ceremony finished hours ago, we've been seeing a lot of people and families still come here to what's known as the Field of Honor to take a moment and pay their respects. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Raheem. Brampton was one of the many GTA communities where sunrise ceremonies were held today.
We have really a tribute to veterans, to those that we have this debt of gratitude for, and we do it at the Korean War Memorial, which is set up at the Meadowville Cemetery, particularly for those who served in the Korean War from the Canadian Forces. And of course, later today, we're going to have the ceremony at our cenotaph in downtown Brampton. But this is a tradition that we have every year on Remembrance Day at sunrise.
Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown was among those who attended the ceremony at Meadowvale Cemetery Chapel. The annual event is organized by the city of Brampton, along with its local Legion branches. Students at a Scarborough public school held a special assembly today to mark Remembrance Day.
It featured a number of presentations and performances in honor of the veterans in attendance. CTV's Allison joins us now from Courcelette Public School with more. Allison.
Andrea, yes, we were here at the assembly at Courcelette Public School to mark this Remembrance Day, and this school was actually named after the Battle of Courcelette, which happened in the First World War. So students were very involved in this assembly. Two of them moderated the entire event. The children's choir sang, and In Flanders Fields was performed by two classes together. There were also some Indigenous poems and some notable names of Indigenous and non-Indigenous veterans honored during this assembly as well. Students also heard from guest speaker Major James D. Clark of the CDG 6 Reserves, who is a member of this community in Toronto, and spoke about some of the men he knows currently serving and how Canadians can support the armed forces here at home. Here's more on what students had to share.
It's very important to me because now that I'm looking back on it, it wasn't even that long ago, and many people only a few years older than me sacrificed their whole futures, their whole lives, sacrificed families and everything just so we could live in peace and we can live how we live now.
Remembrance Day means to me it's not what it means to me, it's what they did for us. They made the supreme sacrifice of being here for our country, sacrificing themselves, fighting in war for our freedom.
I'm a firm believer in tradition and remembrance and honoring people who've gone before us. My grandfather was a Second World War vet, so it's a big family thing for me.
And some of the older students we spoke with also shared just how stunning it is for them that those who fought in the first two world wars were just a few years older than they are now. And they talked about how grateful they are for their lives now. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Andrea, back to you.
Thank you, Allison Hurst. An emotional day today. The TTC is offering free rides today to armed forces members and veterans. Armed Forces members in uniform, as well as veterans wearing service medals or ribbons, can ride the subway free of charge with a companion today. All service was paused for 2 minutes at 11 a.m. to honor Canada's fallen soldiers. Well, Canada's largest Remembrance Day ceremony is held in Ottawa.
Today, a large crowd turned out for the annual commemoration at the National War Memorial. The last post was sounded just before 11 a.m. when 2 minutes of silence was held in somber tribute to the men and women who served Canada in times of war. Military members, dignitaries, and the public joined in paying respect and offering gratitude to those who fought so bravely in the cause of freedom. Today's Remembrance Day ceremonies mark 80 years since the end of the Second World War. Veterans Affairs estimates there are more than 3,600 surviving Canadian veterans from that conflict.
Still to come, former Conservative leader and military member Aaron O'Toole is working to support the troops. We'll have more on the unique steps he's taking a little later in the newscast. Well, to other news, a man is dead and another person has been seriously injured following a collision in Markham. It happened just after 5:30 p.m. yesterday in the area of Reesa Road and 16th Avenue. A 61-year-old man was taken to hospital in serious condition where he later died. The driver of the other vehicle, a 50-year-old man, was also taken to hospital with serious injuries. The cause of the crash is still under investigation.
Police have released an image of a suspect wanted in a hate-motivated assault targeting a member of the Jewish community. Investigators are trying to identify the man in this image. The incident happened on the night of September 27th near Bathurst and Baycrest Avenue south of Wilson. Police say the suspect was a passenger in a moving vehicle when he assaulted, and racial slurs were also directed towards the victim. Anyone who recognizes the person in this photo is asked to call Toronto Police or Crime Stoppers.
Ontario has secured a one-year extension with the federal government for the national $10 a day childcare program. The program, which currently has fees at an average of $19 a day in Ontario, had been set to expire on March 31st. Most provinces and territories signed extensions before this year's federal election, but Ontario only reached an agreement in principle to continue the program. The one-year extension comes with $695 million in additional funding from Ottawa. Ontario Education Minister Paul Calandra says that means fees will not rise next year, but the money is not enough to lower the average childcare cost closer to the $10 mark.
We have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. Once again, this morning, many of us had to brush some snow off of our cars or shovel the driveway, but at least we got a little bit of sun peeking out of the clouds. It is chilly as well. Lindsay Morrison has a look at how things are right now. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan. You know, this is highly unusual for us to have this amount of snow on the ground on Remembrance Day. I will say, though, the snow is starting, pardon me, to lessen a little bit. There is a squall that we've been monitoring just off of Georgian Bay. It is weakening. It brought some pretty snowy conditions to the Highway 400 area earlier today. And London overnight last night had quite a bit of snow as well. Snow squall warnings have come to an end. That is great news. Winds are still coming out of the northwest right now. A little gusty. We're starting to see the winds change direction in southwestern Ontario. That's going to happen for us as well, and it will drive up our temperature. We're at 2 degrees this hour, but it still feels like -4 because of those northerly winds. Here's today at a glance. Daytime high 3, mostly cloudy skies. We'll talk about the potential for some wet weather into tomorrow coming up. Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. As we honor the men and women who serve our country, there's acknowledgement of the physical and mental tolls military service can take.
Researchers are working to understand the impacts on the brain to better protect and treat service members and veterans. Now, a high-profile Canadian is enlisting to help. CTV's Natalie Johnson explains.
It's about 5K.
Down on the boardwalk by his East End home, Aaron O'Toole still maintains a quick pace in life after politics.
When I run, I generally go to the volleyball courts.
The former federal Conservative leader harnesses physical activity to support brain health, grateful that he never suffered a brain injury during his years of service in the military.
Our veterans serve, and many of them come back with injuries, both physical, mental, some aren't visible. And traumatic brain injury is something that we're really starting to understand.
Now, in this time of remembrance, O'Toole is pledging to donate his brain when he dies to Project Enlist. Research conducted by the Concussion Legacy Foundation to better understand the impact of military service on the brain.
You first think of the roadside bomb and, the light armored vehicle and the concussion, but it doesn't have to be that dramatic.
It's this revelation that it's not just concussions, it's the cumulative non-concussive impacts over time that people sustain during the course of their service that can end up leading to mental health issues, neurodegenerative disease, CTE.
Even though O'Toole didn't suffer head trauma during his time in the military, his brain can serve as a baseline or control for the testing. So far, more than 500 veterans have pledged to donate their brains for research.
I think we need to make sure we have the best protection, headgear and other things for our men and women in uniform. And we have to find treatment methods to reduce injury and treat it early so that there can be a quality of life.
Quality of life that is so critical year-round, well after Canadians take off their poppies when the Remembrance Day ceremony ends.
I hope this donation will take place a long time in the future, but I want to be part of something that is so positive.
Arming the Canadian military with research that will help to better educate and equip, another step forwards in supporting those who serve. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is set to announce the next round of projects that will be fast-tracked by the government later this week.
Attention's already focused on one project, which is creating a major clash between Alberta and British Columbia. CTV's senior political correspondent Mike Couture has the details.
The next round of major projects is going to be announced later this week, on Thursday.
So we know when, but we don't know what will be announced in the second phase of the so-called nation-building projects. New Brunswick was left off the first list in September, but Premier Susan Holt is hopeful that won't happen this time.
We've been working hard on a number of projects, and the announcement won't be the Interties. It will be one of the other projects that we've been pushing for.
The first round of projects to have federal support included LNG expansion in BC, a small modular reactor project in Ontario, expanded port facilities in Montreal, and 2 mines in Western Canada. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith wants a pipeline to Tidewater to be on this next list. On her radio show this weekend, she said she's talking with the federal government.
We've been going back and forth now daily on a memorandum of understanding, and I hope that we're able to iron out some of the differences that we have in time for Grey Cup or shortly after.
In a statement to CTV News, Smith said those discussions include working towards the ultimate approval of the Alberta to BC bitumen pipeline. Now, while BC's premier is opposed to it, Prime Minister Carney hasn't ruled it out.
We're on the pipeline stuff. Danielle's on line 1. Don't worry, it's going to happen. But, well, something's going to happen. Let's put it that way.
The Canadian Chamber of Commerce applauds the Major Projects Office, but says it doesn't solve the bigger problem of getting things built in this country.
There are 350,000 federal regulations that businesses need to comply with. We are creating more rules around investment than we're creating investment.
The Prime Minister's announcement will be in Prince Rupert, BC, perhaps an indication that province will see the approval of another major project. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Canada officially lost its measles elimination status yesterday, and reactions been pouring in from the medical community. CTV's Scott Hurst has been following this story and joins us with more. Scott, what has the reaction been to losing this status across the country?
Nathan, good afternoon. Medical health professionals are widely saying it's unfortunate, it's disappointing, it's a step backwards, but ultimately predictable given the scale of cases that we've seen over the past year. Now, going back, Canada received its measles elimination status in 1998 after decades of rallying to stop its circulation. Measles is one of the most contagious diseases, but low vaccination rates leading to a year of outbreaks across the country have Canada losing its measles-free status. Now, from 1998 to 2024, there was an average of just about 91 cases reported annually. So far this year, you can see the graph here and the spike. There have been more than 4,800 cases confirmed and several other 100 considered probable. Here's more from Dr. Isaac Bogosh on ultimately what this means for Canada.
I think it's really going to involve funding federal, provincial, and municipal public health programs so they could do the good work that they're intended to do. And part of that good work is community outreach, building trust among all the communities for which they serve, and being able to lower barriers to vaccinations like routine childhood immunization, such that you bring the vaccines to the people rather than people to the vaccines.
Now, Nathan, when it comes to measles, a rash and a high fever are some of the most common symptoms. While most recover, it can lead to much more serious consequences.
So, Scott, where do we go from here to perhaps regain that status?
Yeah, experts warn it could be a long road back to getting that status, but they argue the tools are there, increasing vaccination rates, strengthening public health measures like contact tracing, and creating a national vaccine database. Those are some of the recommendations for Canadian officials. Now, we should point out the designation by the Pan-American Health Organization is largely symbolic, but here's what needs to happen to regain that status.
Once the outbreak's declared over, then we will have to work for 12 months to sustain that lack of transmission. And at the end of that 12 months, we have to prove to the Pan American Health Organization that we have no transmission going on and that our surveillance systems, the monitoring systems are good enough to prove that we've got no transmission, and also show that our immunization coverage is high enough.
And now, to put this all in perspective in terms of how we got here, public health officials say Canada's measles outbreak began in October 2024 with an international traveler attending a wedding in New Brunswick. The virus then began to spread throughout the country, mainly among the unvaccinated, with Alberta and Ontario, as you see the numbers right there, struggling the most to control the spread of the virus. Combined, Nathan, they represented nearly 85% of all cases.
All right, CTV's Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Canada will be hosting G7 ministers in Niagara today to discuss economic and security challenges. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand will welcome U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, as well as other G7 ministers. The group will be discussing Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine, as well as the ceasefire in Gaza. It is unclear if the trade war between Canada and the U.S. will be up for discussion. The U.S. Senate has voted to approve a funding measure to end the longest government shutdown in American history.
The bill will now go to the House for approval before making its way to U.S. President Donald Trump. CTV's Washington bureau chief has more on the divide over the deal.
Even with the news of a possible shutdown deal, airlines braced for more turbulence. A staggering number of delays and thousands of flights canceled at America's busiest airports after the Trump administration ordered drastic flight reductions for safety reasons.
It was madness, craziness. Everybody was pissed. It was not a pleasant experience at all.
With a shortage of air traffic controllers forced to work without pay or take other jobs to make ends meet, President Donald Trump lashed out, posting, "All air traffic controllers must get back to work now. Anyone who doesn't will be substantially docked."
When the most disciplined safety workforce in America is forced to think about survival instead of public safety, this is the cost.
A breakaway group of Democratic senators joined Republicans to end the shutdown stalemate, saying this is the best deal they could get.
What we have in this bill is the restoration of all the furloughed employees and a guarantee of their back pay. That's a big win for 2 million federal employees.
What they didn't get was what they were holding out for, an extension of expiring Obamacare health care subsidies for millions of Americans. Angry Democrats say they caved.
The American people do not want Democrats to be bullied into submission. They want Democrats to fight for their health care.
The deal secures a promise of a vote on health care, but no guarantee that it will ever happen, leaving Democrats bitterly divided.
They're going to have to explain themselves to their constituents and to the American people.
The shutdown may be winding down, but flight cancellations are still set to ramp up to 10%. And it could be a week or longer before air travel gets back to normal. Joy Malvin, CTV News, Washington.
Remembrance Day is also being marked across Europe with ceremonies held in several different countries. The Princess of Wales attended a ceremony at the National Memorial Arboretum. The Arboretum in the village of Alderwas is just outside of Birmingham and is the British site of national remembrance dedicated to honor fallen soldiers. Also today, French President Emmanuel Macron attended the annual First World War Armistice commemoration at the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. The signing of the armistice between the Allies and Germany, which took effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, ended the hostilities on the Western Front. What began as a school project for students in Ottawa turned into a powerful way to learn about the horrors of war.
It also offered a way to educate and pay tribute to those who fought for this country in the past. CTV's Leah LaRocque reports.
Enemy fire lighting up the clouds and explosions bursting all around you.
The life story of a soldier as he headed off to war more than 80 years ago.
Did you know he actually attended Ashbury College? And not only does he say he's really good at academics, but he was also the captain of the cricket team.
Becoming more real for these students.
I actually started editing some parts of the video.
5 grade 10 students at Sacred Heart Catholic High School creating a documentary honoring Air Commodore John Fouquier, born and raised in Ottawa. He served in the Canadian Armed Forces as a bomber pilot during the Second World War.
People in your area, we live in Ottawa. Johnny Fouquier was born and raised in Ottawa. It's important to recognize the fact that there were people who were in your area who were breaking their backs, fighting for you.
The project personal for Ella Sewell.
The brutality of the First World War and war in general was really, really difficult. That was probably the most difficult part for me because I come from a military family. My dad's in the military, so learning about that was very difficult, and it also surprised me a lot.
Their documentary is part of Operation Remembrance, which is a student-led project from across Canada, where every day from November 1st to the 11th, a new documentary is released on a different topic or veteran.
From start to finish, this was a student-driven initiative to build bridges in an authentic way from the past to the present so that students could really understand the true meaning of remembrance.
Fouquier acted as deputy master bomber, making 17 passes over the target.
Throughout the project, learning that they all share a childhood home in common.
Incredible bravery and courage throughout all the bombing missions that he did, and I wanted the opportunity to learn more about that.
And I really wanted to be able to recognize all of those soldiers who died and fought for us and the reason that we're here today and get to do all the things that we do in our lives.
Fouquier died at the age of 72 and is buried at Beechwood Cemetery. Leah LaRocque, CTV News.
While lake effect bands are weakening and tapering off, it's still likely that we will see a few flurries as the day goes on. Some areas may be seeing an additional centimeter of snow or two. Here's how that looks on our map. It's mainly eastern Ontario that's going to be impacted this time around. But again, the potential is there. And into tomorrow, with temperatures rising, we're likely to see any flurries change over to rain showers. We're going to take you through a full look at your forecast heading into the weekend after this break here on CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
All right, back to the forecast. Not as much snow as over the weekend, but still chilly out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting seeing Raheem. He was outside doing his story, and you saw the sun come out. And I heard in Ottawa when the children sang during Remembrance Day ceremony, the sun peaked out at that point too. So it's been an okay day.
Yeah, we've got some sun right now. Beautiful mix of sun and cloud out there, which is a nice change because once again today in some areas we've had lake effect snow. I know, I still can't believe we're talking about this early in November. So simply adding to the amounts of snow already on the ground, many areas getting a fresh dusting or a fresh couple of centimeters overnight last night. Still the chance of flurries as this day goes on, but tomorrow it will be mild enough for rain showers. And by the end of the week, any snow that's on the ground likely to be gone. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. But do you know where they're hoping the snow will not be gone? Ski hills. I think many are rejoicing with the weather we've had the last few days, maybe hoping for a bit of an early start to the season. Our CTV News chopper was flying above Lakeridge Ski early today. Look how fabulous this looks. A really nice start to the season. This, of course, is some natural snow and some snow making that you may be able to see is happening there. So a bit of an assist from Mother Nature, especially with the lake effect snow that we've had over the last day or so. Let me show you what it looks like right now on the satellite and radar. We had quite a little streamer coming off Georgian Bay, impacting parts of York region, even parts of Toronto, and certainly in through Durham region too. That is weakened. There was also a lot of snow overnight last night in the London, Ontario area, but you'll notice that both squalls have weakened significantly over the last hour or so. So much so that snow squall warnings have also come to an end. We've got another disturbance that's going to swing through later today and into tomorrow, but temperatures are going to start to rise. We're seeing the winds change direction, so it's a bit of a different setup that we're in for. There's later on tonight, likely to see another burst of flurries around the GTA, hopefully not amounting to much in the way of snowfall accumulation. And then there's midday tomorrow, a little more green on this map. Daytime high around 7 degrees. So that's certainly warm enough for rain as opposed to snow. That's your Wednesday evening. Thursday, that chance of showers is going to be there once again, but we are progressively becoming drier. And by Friday, it's only about a 30% chance of a shower. It is going to stay windy pretty much through the rest of the work week. The winds do change direction, as mentioned. Bit of a southwesterly flow today and then a west wind as we progress through the day on Thursday. Now, I do want to show you once again the temperatures across the United States. We've got this big dip in the jet stream. It's part of the reason why we've been so cool here in southern Ontario. It's only 1 degree in Pittsburgh. It's 6 in Atlanta, which is very cool for this time of year. Most parts of southern Ontario and central parts of the province now above freezing, which is great. But again, still dealing with a bit of a northwest wind, so that makes it feel cooler than that temperature suggests, but we are on our way to an afternoon high of about 3 degrees, which is still well below seasonal. 8 is the average temperature at this time of year. A couple of communities are well on their way to warming up. We also look to remain slightly above freezing through the overnight hours tonight, which again will also help with some melting out there. And then here's tomorrow at a glance. We might start off with a few flurries in the morning, but by the afternoon, we'll see that switch over to some rain showers. Daytime highs of 7 right through the day on Friday. The weekend is cloudy with some wet weather Saturday night and into Sunday. A bit of a one-off day, 10 degrees the high for Sunday afternoon. That's your weather for now. Andrea, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. AFC Toronto have booked their spot in the inaugural Northern Super League final after beating the Montreal Roses in the second leg of their semi-final last night.
Inside 10 minutes to give the Shield winners, AFC Toronto, the advantage. This is Hunter in towards the penalty area, and it is finished off. Esther Okoronkwo continues her wonderful season.
Toronto scored less than 7 minutes into the match with players jumping into a snowbank in celebration. The match was originally set for Sunday afternoon, but had to be postponed because of inclement weather. Fans spent yesterday helping to clear the pitch, and AFC Toronto rewarded them with a 4-1 win. They will now play the Vancouver Rise in the Northern Super League final on Saturday at BMO Field.
And the Raptors will be looking to get back into the win column tonight when they square off with the Brooklyn Nets.
Now redirect goes back in. The runner doesn't go. Oubre scoops it up. The loose ball and a slam dunk.
The Raptors are coming off a 130-120 loss to the Philadelphia 76ers Saturday. Tip-off for tonight's game against the Nets is set for just after 7:30 in Brooklyn.
The Maple Leafs will be looking to snap a 2-game losing skid when they face off with the Boston Bruins tonight.
Matthews, Tavares, back across. Niemöller shoots, scores! Niemöller strikes again.
The Leafs are coming up a 5-4 loss to the Carolina Hurricanes on Sunday. Prior to that, they had lost 5-3 to Boston on Saturday. Puck drop for tonight's rematch against the Bruins set for just after 7 p.m.
Still to come, a resurgence at the Royal Canadian Legion. We'll have more on the organization's biggest branch when we come back. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration says it will remove the black box warnings on many hormone replacement treatments for women going through menopause. The labels warning about stroke, heart attack, and breast cancer are now considered outdated and unnecessary. The FDA made the recommendation after reviewing the latest scientific data.
The black box warning has kept women from having discussions about menopausal hormone therapy because they read about relatively rare complications that may happen. By removing the black box warning, hopefully this will open up the conversation for healthcare providers and their patients for an appropriate population, a population of women within the first decade of menopause who are suffering with intractable hot flashes and night sweats to receive appropriate treatment and appropriate education about the common side effects.
And doctors stress the label removal doesn't mean there's zero risk. They say it's important that women talk to their primary care providers to find the right medication and dosage for them.
The Royal Canadian Legion is a cornerstone in many communities. I know we have one in Stouffville, and while some branches have struggled to stay open, others have seen a sudden revival.
CTV's Andrew Johnson has more on the massive success of the Legion branch in Maple Ridge, British Columbia.
G59. We have a bingo call.
It's a packed house for bingo night at the Maple Ridge Legion.
Do people get into it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They start screaming the numbers out.
The dozens with dabbers poring over bingo cards are some of the more than 2,600 members of the largest and most successful Legion in the country.
It's an amazing place.
I've always felt very comfortable and very safe in here to come in all by myself, have a glass of wine on a dinner or meet with friends.
Struggling. Bingo night, karaoke, dances, and the classic meat draw bring people in, but there's more to this Legion than entertainment. In addition to fundraising and support for veterans and their families, the Maple Ridge Legion operates 2 housing developments built on partially donated land decades ago. It provides hundreds of homes for veterans and seniors at much less than market value. The branch boasts assets in the range of $50 million.
We had some great executive members who were forward-thinking.
Very good groundwork to begin with. When I got there over 30 years ago, there was people in place that knew what they were doing.
They credit business smarts and huge community support with helping this branch weather the post-pandemic struggles that have led to some closures across the country. Membership in BC overall is now growing, and the Legion says that's also happening Canada-wide as branches diversify.
Some innovative models are starting to pop up around the country. So you have that model where you have help available at a branch. You might also have some support services in-house.
In Maple Ridge, members are incredibly grateful for the place they count on.
Where do you go? You can't just go to a bar. You know, where do you meet people? Well, you come to the Legion.
They hope for many years to come. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Maple Ridge, BC.
And keep it here on CTV News at noon. We'll have more after the break. Stay with us.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Welcome back. Conestoga College students training to work in the auto sector will soon have some new tools at their disposal.
CTV's Karis Mapp reports the upgrade is thanks to a $2 million donation from Toyota.
That's not the sound of popcorn popping, but rather an assembly line hard at work.
A $2 million donation from Toyota will allow for 3 more lines like this one to fill the lab at Conestoga College's School of Engineering and Technology.
We've built the first line, so the money is going to actually go to building the other 3 lines, as well as adding some more bells and whistles for the latest and greatest technology in Industry 4.0.
Setting a new learning standard for colleges across the province.
We've already gotten portions of the funding that we've used to purchase the bulk of the materials, and we managed to get that in right before the tariffs really started to have an effect. So when they're learning here, they're learning with industry items as opposed to learning with just buttons and lights.
Isam Sagiri is a second-year co-op student who has worked with the school's current manufacturing line. He says future students will only benefit from the experience.
I would be able to learn new stuff with robotics, automation, mechanical, designing, a lot of things, and troubleshooting as well.
The students may not be building car parts at the Cambridge campus, but the experience prepares them with the skills to be successful across the automotive sector.
Toyota hires a fair number of co-op students from our programs so that they're helping in the maintenance departments, they're helping in production departments where they can help keep the lines running, do small continuous improvement projects.
In an emailed statement to CTV News, Toyota's president said they're helping cultivate the next generation of skilled professionals.
I was able to understand how to work with safety equipment and understand how to use new tools to automate a line. And that was really a good experience for me.
The 3 lines are currently being built and set to be finished by spring of next year. But Conestoga officials say they won't be delivered here until September once they finish redecorating the labs to highlight Toyota's contributions. Kara Smapp, CTV News, Cambridge.
Coming up, encouraging reflection all year long. 2 projects in Kitchener are focused on honoring veterans beyond Remembrance Day.
A group in Kitchener is working to make sure people think about the service and sacrifice of those who fought for Canada beyond November 11th.
CTV's Jeff Pickle has more on 2 projects encouraging people to reflect all year round.
It's an excellent design, it's very respectful, and it says everything.
It's a new addition to East Avenue in Kitchener, in front of the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium.
It's very important that we honor our veterans, and this is an excellent way of doing it and putting it out there for everyone to see.
2 local Legion branches, along with the City of Kitchener, installing the city's first Veterans Crosswalk.
Really is an opportunity for pedestrians, cyclists, those who drive by, walk by, to remember the sacrifices that have been made by our veterans, rather.
The striking and permanent image that will last long after November 11th.
When the people cross over, and I'm going to say particularly some of the younger, say perhaps the school children and that, it'll be introducing them and reinforcing and saying, what's this all about?
But they weren't given a lot of instruction in terms of what that poppy should look like.
At Waterloo City Hall, another striking visual.
The clay is so basic and so simple. There's nothing fancy about the concept. You mold these things out of clay. And it couldn't be a more forthright, honest appreciation of the poppy and what the poppy means.
The Canada Clay and Glass Gallery presenting a garden of poppies as part of their Remembrance Every Day exhibition.
The hope is that people take these away and put them on their fridge or wherever they're magnetized.
Co-curator John Short says Remembrance Day has a special meaning to his family.
My grandfather went through the First World War in the trenches, and my father was killed in the Second World War. Lancaster over Germany.
Short says it's important to remember to not repeat the mistakes of history.
And I'm busy making them, and in the midst of it all, I'm getting more and more agitated by the way in which democracy is being challenged around the world.
The public is encouraged to come get a clay poppy from City Hall and make a donation to your local Legion.
There's something that somebody will take away and put somewhere in their home, and hopefully that then becomes a cause for them to think about remembrance.
Jeff Pickle, CTV News, Kitchener.
Great idea. Both Lindsay and I have been to Vimy and been into the trenches, and once you go there and you see the sacrifices that people have made, you can never, ever forget it.
Yeah, that's one very special place on a day like this, but so happy to see so many people around the GTA taking a moment today to enjoy that moment of silence, and so many people still going to outdoor ceremonies, even though the weather this year hasn't exactly been ideal for that. It is still cold out there. We have an unusual amount of snow on the ground for this early in November. Let's take one more look at our current satellite and radar. Less snow falling right now. Can't rule out the possibility of another burst of flurries into this evening. Here's a look at what we're waking up to tomorrow. Any flurries out there likely to switch over to some light rain showers, and that will be an ongoing pattern for a couple of days beyond that because the temperature itself will be mild enough for it. So 7 degrees tomorrow, which is much closer to our seasonal average of 8 degrees. And then your 7-day forecast looks like this. I want to talk about the weekend. It's going to be mostly cloudy, a little warmer on Sunday, but it looks like we're going to get back into some wet weather starting Saturday night and into Sunday. Nathan and Andrea.
Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Andrea Case.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.